Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It is still in the description below. It is still your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. I am still T Mosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today we are discussing a lovely 4th generation Breitling Aerospace. These are among my very favorite watches. The model you see here was made from about 07 to 13, and this would have been built at the beginning of that run for reasons I will explain in a moment. But in grade 2 titanium, the watch is 42 millimeters in diameter. I measure it 10.5 millimeters thick. From lug tip to lug tip, 48.7 millimeters with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. I'm going to throw the watch on my wrist, and as you can see, these are super flat, flush, and easy to wear. Being relatively thin, you can see under 11 millimeters thick, this will actually fit underneath a dress cuff. And because of the shape of the case, note the downward taper of the lugs. Even if you're borderline for one of these, it's going to wear really well. Being made basically of titanium and sapphire, it is feather light, so it wears well on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, but I can see a 14 centimeter wrist wearing this really well, even a 13.5 centimeter circumference women's wrist, because it is so light and effortless. If you're a lady who likes to wear a big men's style, this is a great candidate for your wrist. Okay, so we've got a professional 2 style bracelet. We have that diagonal orientation, but you can see that all of the links are of symmetrical size, though there is a little bit of taper from the end link down to the clasp. You can see that across the row, the links are of symmetrical size. Here we have a number of removable links. They are fixed in place by screws, quite a few of them, so you're likely to get a good fit. The watch features a clasp that includes 4 sets of divots drilled internally, so you can use your strap tool to change the anchoring point of the bracelet, moving the spring bar to fine-tune the fit. So you have a lot of removable links, then you also have those divots. Single fold deployant clasp made of titanium. You can see we have a little clamshell lock that comes down and locks everything together. On the reverse of the case, you can see the Breitling wings from back when Breitling was really playing up its aviation heritage. And you can see that this watch includes conversion factors on the back. So if you want to convert, for example, pounds and kilograms or liters and gallons, you're good to go. You can also see, unlike a lot of pilots' watches here, we have 100-meter water resistance combined with the unidirectional rotating bezel that makes this watch sort of qualified as a light-duty diver. Now, I talked about why this watch was manufactured toward the beginning of the 2007 to 2013 run of the 4th generation series, right here. 48 is the week of the year that this bracelet was made, and 07 was the year the bracelet was made. Bracelet and case usually correspond pretty closely in terms of their manufacturing period, so I know that if we were to pull the bracelet off and check between the lugs, we'd probably see a number very close to this, definitely 2007 or early 2008. Rolling over, the case is relatively simple. Everything's satinated here for the most part to resist glare. We have a few polished highlights, and they're well appreciated, but accenting, not dominant. You can see we have the Breitling rider tabs that became a signature of the Chronomat when it was renewed for the 1983 model year. It makes it easy to manipulate these bezels when your hands might be wet, sweaty, or gloved, and we've got captive bezel design. So these little screws out here, they're not ornamental. They're actually fixing the bezel to the case, and so unlike Omega, Tag, or Rolex, the bezel's not snapped on, so it can't accidentally be snapped off. Now this is a really nice bezel. 120 click, a wonderful sense of refinement in its action, and yet a detent that is still really crisp. So let's see how we might make this watch even more suitable for diving. One way to do that is to activate the running seconds indicator. Now, taking a quick look here, you can see we've got analog and we've got digital, but we've got something more. As you can see, this dial, including the bezel pearl, are loomed, and there is a backlight feature that can be activated by slowly rolling the crown backwards. When it is flush to the case, you can activate that backlight feature. So we have a loomed bezel that we can use as a timing reference. We have a loomed dial, both numerals and hands, and then of course we have that backlight feature. Now, because the backlight is on demand and the backlight isn't full-time, there you go, I've illuminated the timer, the countdown timer. It's not a dive watch, strictly speaking, but it can do many of the things a dive watch can do. In order to be a true diver, it would have to have all of those functions. The luminescence 100-meter water resistance, a unidirectional timing reference, and full-time seconds. Because this watch does not have full-time running seconds with luminescence, it is not strictly speaking a diver. But it is one hell of a pilot's watch. You can see that it's got a little chimney that sits between the crystal and the bezel. That's this polished ring that prevents the two from coming in contact. The dial's got a nice dished profile with a track outboard against which to read the analog minutes. We've got applique full blocks of luminova acting as the numerals, which I really like. This full block luminova is something that wouldn't be seen widely until much later, so Breitling was ahead of the curve with that. We've got applique quarter Arabic numerals in high polish, which I really like, giving this watch more upscale look than earlier Aerospaces, and then a sort of tapestry-style vertical pinstriping stamped into the dial at center. Now let's take a look at some of these functions here, because we have analog, roll back, you roll the crown, and now we have analog and digital. Notice you can get this digital in 12 or 24-hour format depending on what you need. Here you go. You have running seconds and the date. Now, this is a perpetual calendar. You have Friday the 23rd. This can be set by pulling the crown out and turning it. It is a perpetual calendar, though. Electronically, it can keep track of leap years and irregular length months. Now we have the timer. So this is a countdown timer. Let's say you want an alarm to sound after 5 minutes. You're cooking. You just set it to 5 minutes, which is easy to do. Pull the crown out. Now I'm able to set forward or backwards as I wish to set my countdown timer, just like that. I have a second time zone. I have a chronograph. I have an alarm. Now this is a time of day alarm, not a countdown alarm. So let's say I need to be awakened at 8 a.m. I can set this to 8 a.m. the same way I just set the timer. Pull the crown out, start setting your time. I can go analog only. I can go analog with digital. This is how it works. Many different functions, including some you might not expect, like, for example, an electronic minute repeater. Okay, what else have we got? Well, the battery has a 3 to 4 year life, which is great because that's one of the privileges of quartz. You don't have to constantly wind your watch. It is Superquartz, which means not only is this a thermocompensated quartz caliber, making it able to defy the ravages of temperature on timing, but being a rare COSC certified quartz chronometer, probably the rarest type of COSC chronometer, it is able to keep time to within a resolution of no more than 10 to 15 seconds gained or lost per year. It is extraordinarily accurate. This Breitling Caliber 79, which is based on the ETA Thermoline 988 series. There is a lot to recommend it. It is also a jeweled watchmaker serviced and watchmaker serviceable lifetime movement. It is not disposable quartz. These, which have been in production since the 80s, often come to us with the original movements still functional. There is an enormous amount to like about these. And again, 100-meter water resistance, a lot more than you would expect on a pilot's watch. This could very easily be your only watch, and you would not regret it. Comfortable to wear, light, airy, thin, and I would even say unisex for him or for her. This is probably the most underrated tool watch in the business. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.